el Metro, a mí me pela la
Illuminati. Yeah, the rich kids. Illuminati!
The TikToker who had to hire 30 bodyguards, the influencer who was left to bleed to death, the comic who was shot to death smack dab in the middle of a restaurant. When it comes to cartels, gruesome deaths are as softcore as it gets. Whether it's feeding their victims to tigers or dumping them into acid drums while they're still alive, cartels have done it all. Let's take a look at some very unlucky TikTokers who had to find this out in the worst ways possible. Rodolfo Marquez. Rodolfo Marquez, also known as Fofo Marquez, is a controversial Mexican influencer with millions of followers across social media. Fofo's online persona shows an extravagant lifestyle. From cruising in luxury cars to partying at exclusive clubs, it's a vision of the Mexican dream. Details about Fofo's family history aren't well known, but apparently his grandfather is the owner of 10-Pack Footwear Company, and his late father owned a stake in Total gas stations. Despite his online success, Fofo's inflated ego and sense of invincibility landed him in hot water. He tangled with one of Mexico's most dangerous criminal organizations, the new Jalisco Generation Cartel, CJNG. This cartel's rise to power was swift and bloody. In 2009, they executed rivals and left a chilling message promising to cleanse Mexico. Underestimating them at first, authorities were left reeling when the CJNG massacred 35 members of a competing cartel and dumped their bodies on highways. Their leader, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, inspires terror with his reputation for extreme violence. Born in a humble avocado farming family in 1966, Nemesio decided to chart a dark path. He began with menial tasks for established cartels, after which El Mencho honed his ruthlessness as an assassin for the Milenio cartel. When the cartel splintered, he aligned himself with a Sinaloa cartel faction, managing drugs, finances, and violence in key areas. His brutality and ambition gave him leadership of half the group, which he renamed as the CJNG. Under El Mencho's iron fist, the CJNG morphed into a global threat, wielding military-grade weaponry and unmatched brutality. So, how did Marquez draw their ire? Fueled by the constant content churn on TikTok, Fofo, like many influencers, pushed boundaries in a way few dared in Mexico. He staged a stunt by blocking Guadalajara's Matute-Remus Bridge with 3 luxury cars, stopping traffic in a blatant display of arrogance. Filming the ensuing chaos, he boasted, "Shut down for us. This is what money and power do." He looked like he was having a little too much fun, completely oblivious to the honking frustration around him. The video, uploaded to TikTok, went viral, but not for the reasons he wanted. Public outrage erupted, condemning his actions as reckless stupidity. The mayor of Guadalajara threatened legal action, and TikTok wasted no time. His account and the video were banned. Within 48 hours, Fofo, stripped of his online platform, resorted to apologies across other channels. Admitting his childish behavior, he begged forgiveness from those he inconvenienced. The mayor, accepting the apology, mandated community service, cleaning the very bridge he'd blocked. Left with no alternative, Fofo complied. However, public shaming wasn't enough for some. The CJNG decided to teach Fofo a harsher lesson. Just as the controversy almost died down, the cartel sent a menacing message through an anonymous account, Gente con la gente NG, people with the new generation. This threat quickly went viral. The message, written in Spanish, roughly translates to, "Hello to all the people of Guadalajara. We are the Jalisco New Generation Cartel." As you might know, the influencer or scumbag Fofo Marquez dared to obstruct the flow of traffic on the Matute-Remus Bridge, which is an act that we don't tolerate. We will not allow this animal to get away with this. We are in charge of Jalisco and all of Mexico. If you ever step foot in Guadalajara, neither you nor your money will save you from us. The CJNG's message wasn't just empty words. Fofo's stunt in their territory was seen as an insult to El Mencho, their revered leader. The influencer's money was just a flimsy shield against a multi-billion-dollar organization with suspected influence over the government. He knew his online fame offered no protection. Panicked, he issued another apology, and retreated to his family's heavily guarded mansion. Marquez hired a team of 30 bodyguards, according to what he himself spread on his social networks. He even uploaded a video of how his private security team operated, which has almost 500,000 views on YouTube. Yet, even armed security couldn't completely erase his fear. The CJNG had a reputation for dismantling elite hit squads and even military units. No amount of guarding seemed enough. For days, Fofo lived like a prisoner in his own home, avoiding windows because he was paranoid about snipers and clutching a transceiver like a lifeline. Months later, he re-emerged, but the threat of the CJNG remained, forever changing his life. Unbeknownst to him, another teenager was about to test the cartel's wrath with a similar insult, setting the stage for a new chapter in this chilling saga. Juan Luis Lagunas Rosales and El Chanito de Culiacán. Juan Luis, known online as El Pirata de Culiacán, gained online fame from his humble beginnings in Sinaloa, Mexico. Life dealt Juan a rough hand. Raised by his grandma due to his absent father and his mom's limited options, he knew hardship. Interestingly enough, he grew up pretty close to El Chapo Guzman's territory. Yet, luckily for him so far, Juan never got sucked into the drug scene. But you can still think of this fact as an omen of what's to come for the young man. Driven by ambition, he left high school and headed to Culiacán to make his own way. He hustled through a string of odd jobs, but unfortunately, a nasty habit started creeping in: alcoholism. This boozing bled into his work and personal life, threatening to derail his progress. Sadly, Juan's struggles with alcohol only got worse. In a desperate attempt to claw his way out of his rut, he channeled his issues into a controversial form of internet fame. He launched a YouTube channel where he documented his excessive alcohol consumption, showing his reactions to getting intoxicated. This bizarre concept, while self-destructive, ended up being a hit with viewers. He was racking up a surprising number of likes and comments. He had an unfiltered approach, using dark humor to cope with life's problems, something which endeared him to those who watched. It wasn't long before he became a social media star. His Facebook page ballooned to over 1 million followers, with Instagram boasting around $300,000. This newfound fame even landed him gigs in music videos and television shows. But think about it. How much good can really come from drinking too much? He started posting images on his gram that didn't sit well with the older demographic because he was just 17 years old at the time. These photos depicted him with firearms, luxurious automobiles, and often half-naked women. While many thought he'd be swallowed up by the Mexican drug underworld, Juan remained unconnected to any cartels, for now. A chance encounter with Beto Sierra, a social media guru, proved to be a pivotal moment for El Pirata. Sierra recognized his potential and steered him away from the self-destructive alcohol content. Together, they explored more lucrative avenues, launching merchandise and even a singing career. Yet, Juan's immaturity remained a constant threat to his stability. He engaged in a series of online feuds, resulting in a drunken video where he hurled insults at a particularly dangerous adversary, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho. This wasn't a mere drunken outburst. It was a digital declaration of war, and Juan didn't even know it. Ignoring a chilling warning from CJNG to stay out of Jalisco, Juan sealed his fate. He went into their territory anyway, partying with friends at a local bar. This reckless decision proved fatal. CJNG sicarios stormed the bar, unleashing a hail of high-caliber gunfire. Juan's bright life was extinguished in a matter of seconds, his body riddled with over 18 bullets. Identified only by his tattoos, his death became a gruesome spectacle. Ironically, Juan's death, not his life, is what ended up gaining national attention. Rolling Stone magazine ran a piece showing the foolishness of challenging one of the world's most dangerous men. Yet, from the ashes of tragedy rose another troubled soul. El Chanito de Culiacán, a teenager fueled by grief and misguided loyalty, saw an opportunity to gain notoriety. He publicly called out El Mencho, vowing revenge for El Pirata's death. This impulsive act only worsened the cycle of violence. Now, there was a new threat to another young life. El Chanito's desperate attempt at internet infamy backfired spectacularly. A viral video surfaced online, showcasing him brandishing a firearm alongside a young child, their faces covered. The video was a tirade of insults directed at El Mencho, even mocking El Pirata's life choices. This reckless act was a death sentence. Unlike El Pirata, CJNG opted for a public display of punishment for El Chanito. A video circulated online, allegedly showing El Chanito apologizing for his actions and claiming mental illness. However, this attempt at appeasing the cartel proved futile. El Chanito vanished from social media, and rumors of his demise began to spread. Confirmation arrived via an anonymous Reddit post, a gruesome video depicting El Chanito's execution by CJNG Sicarios. It was swiftly removed, but the chilling message was clear. Messing with El Mencho is not worth it. Miss Azucena Uresti. Azucena Uresti, a prominent figure known for both her work as a newscaster and her presence on TikTok, found herself in a very dangerous situation. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, one of Mexico's most ruthless criminal organizations, directly targeted her in a threatening video. This incident unfolded in August 2021. The CJNG accused Uresti of biased reporting and supporting vigilante groups in Mexico. Following the threat, Uresti, known for her outspokenness in the press, made her TikTok account private. The cartel's video was chilling. 6 heavily armed sicarios clad in black stood alongside a 7th man who identified himself as a representative of El Mencho, the CJNG's leader. He delivered a direct message to Uresti, stating, "I respect freedom of expression, but I won't tolerate attacks against me." He went on to criticize Uresti's coverage, accusing her of tarnishing the cartel's reputation. More ominously, he threatened to find and eliminate her. The CJNG's video also contained accusations against the vigilante groups Uresti had covered favorably. The cartel claimed these groups were not peacemakers, but rather drug traffickers masquerading as heroes to gain favor with the Mexican government. To support their claim, the CJNG pointed out the use of high-powered weaponry by these groups, arguing that only cartels have access to such sophisticated arms. Journalists and social media personalities who touch on sensitive topics like cartel activity can face severe repercussions, even threats to their lives. The situation escalated quickly when the CJNG's video went viral, thrusting Uresti's safety into the national spotlight. Mexican President Obrador stepped in, reassuring the country that no harm would come to Uresti or any citizen for speaking out truthfully. He emphasized the government's commitment to protecting Mexicans from intimidation and threats, regardless of the source. Presidential spokesperson Jesus Ramirez Cuevas repeated this sentiment on Twitter, pledging support for journalists who exercise their right to free speech. Following these assurances, Uresti confirmed she was under government protection. Despite the threats, she appeared unfazed. Thankfully, there haven't been any reported attacks against her since. It's unclear if the CJNG has backed down or is simply waiting for the right moment to act. This case shows the dangers journalists face in Mexico. Many have been silenced through violence at the hands of cartels. Uresti's defiance stands out, perhaps the only TikToker or social media personality to challenge a cartel and emerge unscathed. But sadly, her safety still isn't guaranteed for the future. Sabrina Duran Montero. Sabrina Duran Montero, known on TikTok as Joaquina Guzman, recorded her final video shortly before she was tragically shot in broad daylight. As you can guess from her TikTok name, it's a clever reference to Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the former Sinaloa cartel leader. This choice of lifestyle foreshadows every mistake that led to her untimely death. Her online performances, pretty face and long dark hair earned her more than 500,000 followers and 11 million likes. But Montero was not just a TikToker. She was also a convicted drug trafficker who spent over a year in jail, being released in May 2023. Even behind bars, Duran continued to post videos, sharing her urban reggaeton dances and songs under the moniker the Narco Queen of Peñaflor, a nickname she earned as the leader of a criminal gang in the Santiago suburb of Peñaflor. Known as Ina to her friends, Duran was the youngest of 9 siblings and a mother to a 10-year-old boy. She grew up surrounded by drugs, and court documents reveal her early involvement in drugs as a teenager. Her case is the best example of the popularity of drug trafficking and the impact that it's had on the younger generation of the country. Pilar Lizana, a security specialist, claims that young people often idolize figures like Ina, who symbolize a world of power, quick wealth, stolen luxury cars, and guns. Her prison videos, where she danced reggaeton wearing flashy jewelry, showcased the power she had even over government institutions. When incidents like Ina's occur, guards act quickly to seize the phones. However, when a gang leader is involved, efforts are made to conceal the phone owner's identity, often blaming lower-ranked inmates. And if you thought Ina was protected in prison, you'd be right. But outside prison walls, Sabrina was fair game for rival cartels who hated her guts. The 24-year-old convicted narca was attacked in southwest Santiago by assailants who shot her 7 times and then took her car, which was later found burned and abandoned. In chilling footage recorded by a witness of the attack, Sabrina can be seen lying in the middle of the street after being shot by an attacker wearing a mask. The shocking video shows Sabrina attempting to get up, already wounded, when a gunman approaches her and fires more shots at her. Duran Montero was left bleeding on the road, according to press reports, and died from her injuries later that day. The killing of Ina, who gained popularity by documenting her life behind bars and her beauty, was planned, according to Santiago's Western Metropolitan Prosecutor. Apparently, the motive for the killing was cold, calculated revenge from her rivals. They were waiting for her, and after she was released from prison in May, they finally struck. Ina's funeral in Peñaflor was deemed a high-risk event by authorities, who deployed a special police unit to maintain security. Over 1,700 narco funerals have occurred in Chile in the past 4 years, typically held in the deceased's neighborhood and burial site. Currently, the masked gunmen are still at large, and the investigation into Sabrina's murder continues. Leslie Ann Pamela Montenegro del Real. Between 2000 and 2022, 157 journalists were killed in Mexico. This makes Mexico one of the deadliest countries for reporters in the world, often compared with countries at war. The difference is that in Mexico, reporters are not killed by airstrikes or bombs. They are not unplanned casualties. Instead, they are targeted and killed execution style, just like Montenegro del Real. Leslie Ann, a popular Mexican social media figure known as Nana Pelucas, gained fame across TikTok, YouTube, and just as a general celebrity. Tragically, her life was cut short after she started touching on topics that most people were too afraid to go near, and rightly so. Despite the danger and threats she received, her online persona gained a sizable audience with a wide range of content, spanning from political commentary and makeup tutorials to daily vlogs. And we can't leave out her unique looks, of course. She was usually seen playing a character wearing a black afro wig, fake, oversized glasses, and bold red lipstick, apparently parodying a homemaker. Dressed like that, she'd interact with random people in supermarkets, where she'd ask them trivia questions to get a reaction out of them. Nothing you wouldn't find on your For You page these days. But Leslie was far more socially aware than she led on. As Leslie's audience grew, she shifted her focus. Becoming more and more concerned about the rampant corruption within the Mexican government, she decided to uncover it. From 2012 to 2018, Montenegro del Real and her husband ran an online outlet called El Sillón magazine from Mexico's popular beachside city of Acapulco. Nana Pelucas was the host and reporter of El Sillón's news shows. Instead of directly naming and shaming perpetrators, she'd use her talent in comedy to send her message across. And as the saying goes, a hit dog always hollers. Her satire sparked controversy, receiving mixed reviews. But sadly, exercising her freedom of speech ended up being a way bigger risk than she could have ever imagined. The tragedy was set in motion from the day she began exposing the independent cartel of Acapulco, known for operating covertly and being involved in numerous homicides in Acapulco. This cartel, often overshadowed by larger groups, took offense at the spotlight being shined on them. Soon, banners accusing Leslie of colluding with rival cartels to expose the independent cartel's secrets appeared near her restaurants. accompanied by death threats. Leslie strongly denied these allegations, maintaining that her information came from credible sources and disavowing any cartel affiliations. Despite the dangers, she persisted in exposing the cartel's activities, becoming a real threat to their operations. José Antonio Rivera, a journalist from the region, told CPJ in a telephone conversation on February 7, 2018, that Montenegro was well known for being very critical of local politicians. Rivera added that she had a very sharp tongue. Montenegro and her husband had been threatened previously by criminal gangs. Just to give you an idea of what they are capable of, the Acapulco gang traffics and sells drugs and extorts businesses. Not only that, but they also have a stronghold over Las Cruces prison. The cartel is known for paying merchants and public transport drivers to block roads when inmates are transported to other prisons. The independent cartel of Acapulco was even involved in the murder of 28 inmates at Las Cruces prison in July 2017. So Leslie Ann was nothing short of brave when she spoke out against them. The night of February 5, 2018 was the last time she'd be seen alive. The journalist was dining with her husband in the restaurant they owned. Two armed men walked straight to their table and fatally shot her 3 times on the upper body. They then fled the scene. Mexican authorities were able to apprehend one of the killers, El Negro Pipas, but the trial took a shocking turn. Despite overwhelming evidence, the 3 presiding judges inexplicably dismissed the charges against El Pipas. You could maybe bribe off 1 judge, but being able to bribe 3 of them shows how messed up the justice system is. The cherry on top of this awful cake is that the official also pointed out that, despite this, El Pipas had another accusation for the crime of aggravated kidnapping, for which the prosecution managed to obtain an arrest warrant against him that will keep him in prison. But is the influence of cartels deep into the judicial system even a surprise at this point? There were some notorious instances like El Chapo's daring escapes from prison. Leslie's tragic death prompted international scrutiny into the Acapulco cartel's activities, revealing the city's alarming security challenges. Acapulco earned the sad distinction of being the world's 2nd most dangerous city, prompting the United States to issue a special travel advisory. Leslie had hoped to expose these issues to the public and spur governmental action, but tragically underestimated the depth of corruption. Her search for justice ultimately cost her life at the hands of the very cartel members she sought to expose. These TikTokers and influencers aren't just cautionary tales. They're real people who were impacted by cartels in the most nightmarish ways possible. Whether or not they brought this on themselves, that's for you to decide. But one thing's for sure, don't do anything you can't undo. Well, not unless you're somewhere far from the deadly reach of a drug cartel. That will be all for today. Which story did you find the most chilling? Have you ever had any dangerous run-ins and lived to tell the tale? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Criminal Corner so you don't miss the next ones.